We often believe that to earn respect, we must roar like a lion, speak loudly, assert dominance. But have you ever noticed the one most feared is often the one who speaks the least? Picture this: a room in turmoil, voices clashing in heated debate. Then someone enters, wordless, expressionless, only a calm gaze and a firm, grounded stance. And suddenly, the room stills. All eyes turn to them, not because they seek attention, but because their silence commands it. Welcome to the power of wordless presence, a strength passed down through over 2,000 years of Stoic thought. In today's reflection, we will explore 7 silent strategies that compel adversaries to hesitate, not through threats, but through an unshakable essence. 1. Emotional mastery. When you stay silent, they lose their bearings. In every conflict, whether at work, in personal relationships, or in tense social settings, our first instinct is often emotional. We get angry, frustrated, or hurt by others' words or actions. And in that very moment, when emotion takes the wheel, we surrender control of ourselves to the other party. Stoicism warned us of this long ago. The Stoics understood emotions are not unavoidable reflexes, but choices. It is not the insult that harms us, but how we allow it to affect us. When we lash out, argue, or protest, we are reacting exactly as others hope, and that makes us easy to manipulate. One of the core tenets of Stoic philosophy is this: it is not events that disturb us, but our judgment of them. Apply this, and you'll discover a hidden but potent weapon: controlled silence. When others provoke, mock, or try to unnerve you, instinct tells you to react. But pause. Observe. In the moment, you choose not to respond, not to flare up, not to retaliate. You step out of the game they are trying to drag you into. The provocateur relies on your reaction. It reveals your weakness, but your silence disorients them. Silence is not weakness. On the contrary, it reflects unshakable inner strength. Not everyone can stand firm in a storm without flinching. To remain silent in the face of insult requires total self-command, a discipline the Stoics cultivated relentlessly. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." Picture a familiar workplace scene. A colleague lobs passive-aggressive jabs during meetings. Their words don't directly offend, but poison the air. Most people would fire back, defend themselves, or at least show visible displeasure. But if you simply smile, say nothing, and continue your work with calm professionalism, you've just dismantled their psychological ploy. Why? Because when you don't react, they can't read you. They don't know what you think or feel, and so they cannot control you. That silence becomes a cold mirror, reflecting their own behavior. They begin to second-guess, waver, even feel ashamed of their brazenness. Failing to get the reaction they crave, they are forced to stop. Moreover, mastering your emotions protects your mental energy. Every reaction drains focus, clarity, and comfort, qualities essential to wise decision-making. The Stoics knew energy must not be wasted on the unworthy. They chose silence not from ignorance, but from discernment. In emotional self-control, silence also seizes psychological ground. When you withhold response, you create silence, and that space unsettles others. They don't know what you're thinking, can't read your intent, can't predict your next move. Silence becomes a fearsome force, because in that uncertainty, they imagine every possibility, and it's that fear of the unknown that shakes their composure. In a world where people are quick to speak, argue, and react, online or in real life, the ability to stay silent is a rare and formidable strength. You are no longer a slave to fleeting emotions. You do not let others' words define your worth. You operate as one who commands the emotional operating system within. To the Stoic, no victory is greater than victory over the self, and no tactic is more effective than composure in chaos. When you learn to quiet your mind in the storm, when anger no longer clouds your reason, when provocation fails to stir you, you don't just disarm your enemies. You prove that you've ascended to another level in the silent art of power. 2. Action, not words. In a world where everyone can easily speak, where promises, affirmations, and declarations are made daily without follow-through, silence has become the mark of the truly reliable. Stoicism has long emphasized that words can never substitute action, and the Stoic understands that a person's worth lies not in what they declare, but in what they quietly and steadfastly do. By this principle, restraint in speech reflects sound judgment. Those who speak little know this. Every promise, every claim is a commitment, not only to others, but to oneself. If you fail to fulfill what you've said, your honor and trustworthiness erode. So the Stoic chooses silence, acts with conviction, and lets the results speak. A clear example is found in how Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus lived and led. They did not spend their time promoting their virtue. They lived it through their work, their words, and their decisions, and it was their life itself that became the most convincing argument. No marketing, no debate, only consistent action that made the difference visible. Action, in Stoic thought, does not need to be grand or dramatic. Sometimes the quiet persistence of doing one simple thing each day, without interruption or show, carries more weight than 1,000 lofty declarations. A person may say they will change, live differently, or work harder, but if no clear change follows, their words are hollow noise. By contrast, the one who stays silent but rises each day with discipline, without complaint, is the one truly moving forward. One reason why talking more and doing less is such a common trap is the false satisfaction words bring. When we talk about our goals, like working out, learning a new skill, or launching a business, the brain already feels a sense of achievement, even though nothing has yet happened. This creates a loop. Speak to feel good, then fail to act. Stoicism sees this danger and urges its followers to stay alert. Don't let words deceive you. Let results do the talking. Silence in action is not concealment. It is the sign of an inner life that doesn't require outside validation. The Stoic does not need an audience to do what is right. They don't need applause to stay motivated. What drives them is a commitment to their inner ideal, not the need for outward approval. And so they act quietly but firmly. And that makes all the difference in the end. Moreover, consistent action naturally earns respect. When people see that you deliver without promising, achieve without announcing, they begin to listen when you speak. But if you always talk and never follow through, your words lose all weight. The Stoic knows credibility is built through action, not eloquence. Silence in action is also a wise tactic in a competitive world. When you don't announce your goals or reveal your plans, you avoid suspicion, opposition, and unnecessary pressure. You remain agile, free to adjust your path without being bound by your words. More importantly, you keep the element of surprise, a priceless advantage in any game. Still, to sustain this wordless momentum, the Stoic must train rigorous self-regulation. They cultivate persistence, discipline, and the ability to endure periods of uncertainty without wavering. They understand that long journeys demand resilience, and that such resilience does not come from fleeting motivation, but from consistent hourly action. without the need for announcement. In the end, choosing action over words is how the Stoic honors their time and energy. Every minute spent speaking about what you'll do is a minute not spent doing it. Instead, work in silence and let time be your only witness. In the quiet of action, the Stoic needs no validation. They need only to keep walking, for the path they've chosen is already the clearest statement of who they are. 3. Don't reveal everything. Strength lies in being unpredictable. Humans are naturally inclined to connect through sharing. In daily conversations, people often speak freely about emotions, thoughts, even their most intimate secrets. Sharing is seen as a sign of closeness and a way to build trust. But from a Stoic perspective, unbounded openness carries a serious risk. You allow others to see too much, understand too clearly, and therefore gain power over you. The Stoic knows that personal power partly resides in controlling what others are allowed to know. In a world where everyone is trying to read each other, becoming unpredictable is a clear strategic advantage. When others can't tell what you're thinking, how you're feeling, or what you'll do next, they are forced to keep their distance, think more carefully, and have fewer opportunities to exploit your vulnerabilities. Being unpredictable does not mean being cold or withdrawn. It is a form of self-protection and a sign of inner steadiness. Not every emotion must be expressed. Not every plan must be announced. And not everyone deserves to know everything about you. A person who frequently exposes their personal emotions, anger, hurt, fear, in front of others, is unwittingly revealing their weaknesses. Meanwhile, someone who knows what to share and what to keep for themselves remains in control in any situation. This becomes especially vital in competitive settings, like the workplace, business, or complex social environments. The power of unpredictability lies in human psychology. We fear what we cannot understand. When you maintain a sense of mystery, not through pretense, but through restraint, others hesitate to attack because they don't know who they are truly dealing with, where you are strong, or where you are vulnerable. They are unsure of what's real and what's just a surface. That uncertainty forces them to tread carefully around you. A key Stoic principle is autonomy, the ability to govern oneself independently, free from external conditions or passing emotions. When you share too much, you become susceptible to others' reactions. A single comment, a criticism, even a glance can sway your feelings and decisions if you're overly concerned with what others know about you. In contrast, when you maintain a private space, a kind of internal sanctum, you become less reactive to external forces. You act according to reason, not emotion, and that makes you steady, less likely to be manipulated or shaken. Another reason unpredictability becomes a strength is that it prevents others from controlling your narrative. When you overshare your past, your future plans, your fears, your flaws, you give others the power to define how they see and treat you. They may use this information to manipulate, judge, or harm you in moments of conflict. But if you choose to share selectively, keeping the most important parts to yourself, you preserve control over your own story. In real life, countless examples support this. Those who are successful, composed, and respected are often the ones who are hard to read. They are not extreme introverts. They simply know when to speak, how much to say, and to whom. They earn trust, but no one truly sees their full inner landscape. This restraint helps them maintain strong footing in complex social situations. The Stoic does not aim to impress with theatrical mystery. They don't play the part of the cold, dangerous figure. Instead, they learn to be silent when necessary, to guard what matters, and to let their actions speak. They don't announce plans or advertise emotions. They move with the quiet confidence that only they know what they want, what they're doing, and where they're going. Withholding information doesn't mean being dishonest. It is a conscious choice to protect your inner value, to maintain initiative, and to preserve self-governance. The Stoic knows that the inner life is a fortress, and who is allowed inside must be carefully chosen. Finally, unpredictability gives you a strategic edge in the long game. When others can't predict your next move, you keep the upper hand in any arena. You avoid sabotage, resistance, or exploitation, and you create a safe distance to focus on what truly matters, without being swept into the noise, reactions, or drama of the outside world. 4. Live true to your nature. Never apologize for being yourself. In a society where people are constantly pressured to imply, change, or conform to be accepted, living in alignment with your true nature becomes a formidable challenge. From family expectations and social pressures to the need for approval and applause, everything seems to urge us to reshape ourselves to fit our environment. But in Stoic philosophy, true freedom does not come from being accepted. It comes from being who you truly are, without apology. The Stoic believes that each individual is born with a natural duty, a core nature that requires no justification, no proof. To abandon that nature in the pursuit of external approval is the fastest path to disorientation and inner suffering. When someone constantly alters themselves to match others' expectations, they lose themselves piece by piece. They no longer act from reason and personal values, but from fear of rejection. In contrast, those who live true to their nature are not easily swayed by public opinion, judgment, or expectation. They know who they are, where they stand, and what truly matters. They don't strive to please everyone. They don't apologize for not meeting the standards of the crowd. And it is this steadfastness that creates an inner gravity, drawing respect even from those who disagree or fail to understand. In the Stoic spirit, living true to one's nature demands radical honesty with oneself. This does not mean expressing every emotion or revealing every thought, but acting in alignment with values one truly holds. No pretense, no performance. The Stoic does not pretend to be virtuous. They practice virtue. They do not fake composure. They train for it. Every word and action flows from inner clarity, not from the pressure of the world around them. When someone lives true to their nature, they feel no need to apologize for saying no to what they don't believe in. They feel no guilt in avoiding meaningless conversations, hollow praise, or relationships built on performance. They understand if staying true to yourself requires an apology, the cost of acceptance is the loss of your identity. One of the clearest signs of living true to oneself is consistency in choice. In a world of constant shifts, where people change their views to match tendencies, the Stoic holds firm to personal principles. They don't chase popular definitions of success. If it conflicts with their inner values, they may walk a different path, perhaps alone, but never feel lost, for they have chosen truth over convenience. Refusing to apologize for being yourself also shows in how they handle conflict. When misunderstood, criticized, or judged, the Stoic does not over-explain. They do not seek vindication in others' eyes, because they know peace comes from a clear awareness of their own values, not from public approval. They understand that pleasing everyone is impossible, and that sacrificing the self for acceptance is never worth the price. Moreover, living authentically relieves immense mental pressure. When you don't have to wear a mask or maintain a false image, you save vast inner energy. Instead of worrying about what others think, you focus on self-mastery, not to impress, but to live a life of meaning, simplicity in living, clarity and honesty with oneself. These are the highest expressions of inner freedom in the Stoic tradition. Most importantly, someone living in alignment with their nature inspires naturally, not through grand speeches or stirring rhetoric, but through how they live. Direct, composed, principled. They may be misunderstood or opposed at first, but over time, their grounded presence gives others pause, for there is nothing more admirable than one who dares to live honestly, who does not bow to unreasonable expectations, who refuses to dilute their identity just to blend in. To live true to your nature, according to the Stoic, is a continual journey. Each day is a chance to choose honesty over pretense, conviction over compliance, and authenticity over performance. And above all, they never feel the need to apologize for choosing to live this way. 5. Carry yourself as if you cannot be shaken. A person's presence is not merely about being somewhere. It's the way they enter a room, how they stand, how they look, and how they carry a quiet energy that draws attention without saying a word. It is not showy, nor is it an attempt to impress. It is the outward expression of inner steadiness, of someone who knows who they are and refuses to be swept up by external commotion. In Stoic philosophy, presence is the physical embodiment of mental stability. No one can stand firm in presence if their mind is cloudy, easily swayed, or ruled by emotion. Therefore, to possess the kind of presence that earns silent respect, the first requirement is self-mastery. One noticeable trait of those who are unshakable is that they are never rushed, never puppeteered by their environment. They walk slowly, deliberately. They do not seek the gaze of others, yet their presence naturally draws attention. Their posture is neither slouched nor rigid, but relaxed with intent, signaling control and comfort in their own skin. Posture, for the Stoic, is not just physical stance, but an attitude toward life. When someone stands upright, head high, walking without urgency, they signal direction, principles, and calm resolve. They need not say, "I'm in control." Their entire body already declares it more clearly than words ever could. Unshakable presence also comes from resisting impulsive reaction. When insulted, questioned, or placed in difficult situations, they don't rush to defend or retaliate. Instead, they stay composed, meet the other's gaze, and let their calm speak. In many cases, that silence has more effect than any reply, because it forces others to reflect on their own behavior. Another essential element of Stoic presence is a deliberate gaze. It's not evasive, nor probing or confrontational. It is steady, clear, and still, mirroring a mind at peace. When someone can look directly, without strain or hesitation, they transmit an unspoken message. I do not fear you. I do not seek to overpower you. I am simply here, as I am. To be unshakable does not mean rigid. On the contrary, one with a grounded presence is observant and adaptable, but not reactive. They can enter a room full of noise and remain inwardly quiet. They can stand amidst tension and not be drawn into the chaos. They stand like a marker, not to prove anything, but because they have chosen reason over impulse. The Stoic knows this. Stillness is not the absence of action, but the sign of inner command. When you show up undisturbed by circumstance, you're signaling, I'm not here to please anyone. I'm here with purpose, guided by principles, and I will remain anchored in them. In professional or social environments, this kind of presence commands deep respect. Others sense the steadiness in you, and that alone makes them feel safe, or even cautious. You don't need to shout or prove yourself through accolades or bravado. If you walk in with firm steps, clear eyes and a silence filled with self-possession. You've already made your mark. To carry yourself as if you cannot be shaken is also a way to protect your mental energy. When you are not swept into others' pace, you stay clear-headed. When you don't react emotionally, your decisions are sharper. And when you don't speak unnecessarily, you conserve your energy for what truly matters. In today's world, where everyone is trying to be seen, to gain attention, to assert themselves through noise and display, the one who can stand silently becomes the most striking of all, not because they try to stand out, but because inner steadiness is timelessly distinct. To the Stoic, presence is not the product of practiced formality, but the natural outcome of rigorous inner training. When you govern your emotions, master your reactions, understand your worth, and move with consistency, then you need say nothing at all. Your presence will already speak the loudest truth. 6. Serene in the face of insult. You make them invisible. In everyday relationships, at work, in society, or within families, people often encounter harsh words, judgment, or provocation. The common reaction is anger, hurt, defensiveness, or even retaliation in kind. Yet to those who live by Stoic philosophy, the proper response to insult is not reaction, but composure and silence. That composure not only protects your inner peace, it strips the offender of their power. They become invisible, irrelevant to your state of being. The Stoic holds that no one can insult you unless you permit it. A word, no matter how sharp, does not generate emotion on its own. It is your internal judgment of that word that determines the feeling you experience. If you don't assign value to it, if it does not alter your self-perception, then the insult loses all meaning. Epictetus once said, "We are not harmed by what others say, but by how we choose to respond." Those who seek to insult often have a clear aim: to hurt, to provoke, to manipulate emotions, or to assert dominance. When you get angry, argue, justify, or respond with negativity, you fulfill their desire. You grant them victory by showing their words affect you. But if you remain composed, unreactive, and continue your life unchanged, you disarm them. They fail to achieve their goal. In your eyes, they carry no weight. Calm in the face of insult is not weakness or passivity. It is the mark of inner strength, a declaration that you are too grounded to be moved by external noise. The Stoic does not let their worth be measured by others' opinions. Their foundation lies in reason and a clear understanding of who they are. When you know what is right and who you are, you need no external validation, and thus cannot be wounded by rejection or offense. This calmness creates a psychological reversal. When you don't react, the offender vanishes from your mental space. They may shout, insult, or provoke, but to you, they become invisible, and nothing frustrates attention seekers more than being treated as if they don't exist. For the Stoic, there is no need to punish, no need to retaliate. Simply by refusing to let them occupy your mind, they lose all power. Another key to Stoic calm is the ability to pause in the very first moment. Anger tends to flare up in an instant, but if you stop, breathe slowly, and mentally step back, you create space where reason can take over. The Stoic trains to recognize emotional impulses and chooses not to act on them. They do not allow a fleeting emotion to drive a lasting response. In the moment of insult, choosing silence and non-reaction is a deliberate act, not a sign of weakness. Refusing to respond to insults is also a powerful way to preserve your personal image. In professional settings, those who lose their temper are often seen as unstable or untrustworthy. By contrast, those who remain calm, avoiding petty arguments, project maturity and self-mastery. They earn trust because people know they won't react rashly under pressure. Moreover, this composure has the power to shift the entire atmosphere. In a group where insults are common, the presence of someone who refuses to engage, who stays above the emotional fray, becomes a striking contrast. They don't need to say anything. Their silence exposes the absurdity of the insults. That inaction makes others reflect or retreat. The Stoic also understands that insults often stem from the speaker's own insecurity. When someone feels the need to tear others down to elevate themselves, it reveals inner instability. But the Stoic is not responsible for managing others' emotions. They are responsible only for their own clarity of mind, peace of thought, and fidelity to inner values. That is why they choose silence, not because the other deserves forgiveness, but because they do not deserve a place in your mental size. In the end, calm in the face of insult does not weaken you. It makes you untouchable. When you can remain silent without bitterness, walk forward without carrying the wounds of others' words, and look directly without explanation, you render the offender invisible. And in that invisibility, they lose all power, while you preserve your inner freedom, whole and intact. 7. Silence in strategy. 6. Surprise is an advantage. On the path toward any meaningful goal, be it career, relationships, or personal transformation, speaking too much about your plans often yields little practical benefit. On the contrary, it can dilute your motivation, create unnecessary pressure, and even expose your intentions to interference. The Stoic understands a vital principle. The most effective strategies are often executed in silence. Silence does not mean secrecy or a lack of transparency in all situations. It is a conscious choice to keep your intentions and plans free from the weight of attention, expectation, or external judgment. When someone publicly declares what they will do, they expose themselves to a range of responses, from skepticism and opposition to envy. These reactions, direct or indirect, can disrupt action if the inner resolve is not yet firm. Behavioral psychology shows that when people share their goals too early, the brain often registers it as a false sense of accomplishment, reducing the drive to act. They feel momentarily satisfied by recognition, even though no real effort has yet occurred. The Stoics saw this long ago, and for that reason, they choose silence, refusing to be misled by premature approval. One reason silence in strategy is powerful is that it shields you from needless interference. When others know what you're doing, they may try to influence you, express doubt, or offer advice that doesn't fit your path. Even with good intentions, not everyone understands the road you're on. By remaining silent, you maintain control and flexibility in your decisions, unburdened by others' expectations. Surprise is also a clear strategic asset in any competitive environment. When adversaries are unaware of your plan, they cannot prepare to block it. In contrast, when you announce your goals too early, others have time to react, resist, or even sabotage. The Stoic does not act for applause. They act out of clarity, choosing the most effective route to move in silence and let the results speak. Silence in strategy also reflects discipline and resolve. Keeping your intentions unspoken is a form of mental training. It requires learning to keep promises to yourself without witnesses. In a modern world where people constantly share everything, from emotions to long-term ambitions, holding something back becomes a rare and valuable act. A Stoic moves step by step, quietly, cautiously, undistracted by noise. They understand that no one can disrupt a plan they don't know exists. They don't need to announce every small success. They don't need external validation to stay motivated. It is the absence of disclosure and the rejection of fleeting recognition that form the foundation for deeper, longer-term progress. In the workplace, those who constantly announce ideas but fail to act are often seen as impractical. Meanwhile, the one who stays quiet, perseveres, and delivers tangible outcomes earns respect, not because they speak well, but because their actions carry weight. Trust is not built on promises, it is built on execution. The Stoic understands this and invests in actions, not in words. Furthermore, silence in strategy helps protect emotional equilibrium. When you don't share your goals with everyone, you're spared from the barrage of expectations, comparisons, and judgments. You operate within a psychological safe zone where you can fail, experiment without being perceived as a failure. That allows you to focus on self-improvement, not on impressing others. In the Stoic view, the truly strong person doesn't need to announce their strength. The one who is truly progressing has no need to declare it. Their evolution unfolds in silence, and the final result becomes the clearest evidence of the path they've chosen. When you keep your strategy quiet, every action becomes a surprise move. You are not anticipated, not blocked, and therefore, you retain the tactical edge. Every step you take is unexpected, not to shock, but to maintain control. In a world where everyone is busy speaking, the one who stays silent is the one holding true power. We don't need to become ancient philosophers to live in the spirit of Stoicism. Each day, within our work environments, relationships, and personal challenges, we are given the chance to cultivate stillness, self-control, and an unshakable presence. I used to react quickly to insult or criticism. Just one unkind comment, and my mind would be pulled into an invisible battle, draining energy and losing control. But since I began applying Stoic principles, I've come to realize not reacting carries more weight than any response. Every time I remain calm, I feel myself grow, not in the eyes of others, but in my own self-perception. Instead of sharing every plan, I focus on action. Instead of seeking acceptance, I live according to my values. When I walk into a meeting, I no longer need to say much to be acknowledged. I just need to show up with clarity and conviction. Stoicism doesn't promise that life will be easy, but it gives us a set of tools to live with intention, act with strategy, and maintain mental stillness in a turbulent world. And the beautiful thing is, we can begin with the smallest things, starting today. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss future content. Because you don't need to shout to prove anything. Just show up with an inner life that cannot be shaken. See you in the next video.